Welcome, everyone, to Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs Committee. We only have one bill today, so let's get to it. House Bill number 242, Manufacturers and Dealers of New Trailer Changes. Representative Tarver, would you like to walk us through this bill?
I sure would. And I brought reinforcements, if that's all right.
Perfect. We love reinforcements.
Chairman, Senators, so basically this is I would call it considered a cleanup bill. So some trailer manufacturers got trapped in some franchise agreements where they were supposed to be operated like franchises, and there's a big difference between small trailer manufacturers and large manufacturers. So this really just cleans that up, and if you would like more details, we have a young lady here that can definitely give you the details.
Thank you, Representative Tarver. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you. My name is Lacey Bruckner. I'm with YDOT Compliance and Investigation. Our Compliance and Investigation Office regulates vehicle dealers of all types and Wyoming-based manufacturers in the state. We regulate those through licensing requirements, place of business requirements, and of course, consumer protection with the paperwork that goes to a customer when they buy a vehicle and things like that. As
Excuse me, you know what we forgot to do this morning?
Roll
Roll call.
I apologize.
No, it's my apologies. I should have caught that as a chairman, so can I put this on hold real quick? And Pierre, could we have a roll call?
Senator Anderson,
Here.
Senator Brennan,
Excused.
Senator Cooper,
Here.
Senator Kolb,
Present.
Chairman Pappas.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, I'm sorry for that little faux pas. Please continue, Lacey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at any rate, so YDOT Compliance and Investigation regulates dealers. We license them, ensure they're compliant with all of those requirements that are set out in Title 31, Chapter 16 that regulates those businesses. As Representative Tarver said, some of the trailer manufacturers that make flatbed trailers, cargo trailers, utility trailers, and things like that, those manufacturers don't operate under a franchise business model. They sell to box stores or other dealers, but they don't have a franchise. They don't require their label on your building, things like that. They don't enter into extensive sales and service contracts or warranty contracts like your motor vehicle manufacturers do. However, in Chapter 16, there are a lot of statutes that address franchise agreements that set up protections there between dealers and their manufacturers. Most of those statutes are civil in nature, but they really don't apply to manufacturers and dealers that don't enter into those type of agreements. So over the years, the department, when we're working through licensing requirements, if we have a manufacturer and a dealer that don't act under a franchise business model, then we just ask for proof that that particular dealer is authorized to sell brand new trailers from the manufacturer. And really all we ask for is a letter from the manufacturer that says, this dealer is allowed to sell our brand new trailers from an MSO, Manufacturer Statement of Origin. That's important to the department because when we're licensing dealers, we have new vehicle dealers and used vehicle dealers. There are some perks for new vehicle dealers, but there are also some specific requirements because for consumer protection and to ensure that there's a fair playing field across our dealers around the state, and to ensure that the vehicles that dealers are selling in our state meet federal safety standards for public safety, we want to be sure that dealer has an agreement with the manufacturer to sell those trailers brand new, that that manufacturer is registered with NHTSA so that they are building trailers and other vehicles that meet safety standards. So that's the reason for all those licensing requirements and why we ask for those things. The trailer industry approached YDOT with some concerns that even though that's how we're administering this now, in the future with different people working there, that may not be administered the same or interpreted the same way that YDOT does now. And so they asked for suggestions on how to ensure that it's administered the way it's intended to be or how their business model operates in the future. And we at YDOT greatly appreciated that because it's really nice to be able to work together to ensure that their concerns are protected, that it's beneficial for our dealers that we license, and that we're still able to regulate that industry for consumer protection and public safety. So with all of that, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of walk you through this really quick and what this bill does.
Please.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I had referenced a little bit ago about an authorization letter from a manufacturer if they don't have a franchise business model. So at the top of page 2, this bill is adding a definition for a sales authorization. And what that is a document from a manufacturer or a distributor, because a lot of trailer manufacturers work through a distributor to get their trailers to their dealers in all across the country. So this is just defining that letter I was talking about that comes from the manufacturer authorizing the dealer to sell their trailers brand new. So that's what this definition does. Moving down into, starting on line 13, 3116-103, that statute is where the license application requirements are laid out. And as I mentioned, before we'll license a dealer, a brand new dealer, we want a copy of their franchise agreement. That's how the statute reads now. Or their sales and service agreement. Since these trailer manufacturers and dealers here in the state don't have a franchise agreement, this new paragraph that starts on line 21, that just clarifies that the department can accept this sales authorization letter in lieu of a franchise agreement or a sales and service agreement for these types of businesses that don't operate under a franchise business model. Okay, and that clarification or that language allowing the department to accept that letter just carries on to page 3. And then when we get to line 7 on page 3, that statute is the applicability of the provisions of Chapter 16. And this bill is just adding a new paragraph under that statute that states, starting on line 9, that the provisions of several statutes laid out here do not apply to dealers or manufacturers of new trailers other than house trailers and commercial trailers that don't operate under a franchise agreement. So these statutes that are listed out, starting on line 9 and going through line 10, all of those statutes specifically address the franchise agreements or the sales and service agreements between manufacturers and their dealers. And these statutes are in this section of the law to protect dealers and their rights with their manufacturers and manufacturers' rights to require certain things from their dealers under those franchise agreements. These statutes are all civil in nature. Dispute resolution here is mitigated through civil courts. The department has no position or regulation over this list of statutes here at all. Moving down onto, starting on line 14, this starts out to say that the provisions of 3116-108 do not apply to new trailer manufacturers. For those type of trailers, excluding house trailers and commercial trailers, 3116-108 is the unlawful act statute in Chapter 16. So paragraph A of that statute is what gives the department the authority to regulate our dealers and their transactions with their customers for licensing, their place of business requirements, and then of course to make sure that they are delivering the paperwork that's required to their customers when their customers buy a vehicle so that their customers can go get a title, get license plates, and use the vehicle they paid for. So subparagraph A is strictly regulations or enforcement statutes for the department for the relationship between the dealer and the customer. 3116-108B and all the subparagraphs after that, those are again civil statutes that set up unlawful acts on the part of on the relationship between the manufacturers and the dealers, specifically related to those franchise agreements and those sales and service agreements. So this is just excluding these trailer manufacturers that don't operate under a franchise business model from that section of the law, because it doesn't apply to them naturally because that's not how they do their business. So final section here, section 2, is that this act is effective July 1st of 2025. So the department doesn't have any issue with how this bill is written. It still allows us to ensure consumer protection, public safety, that the vehicles that are being sold here by our licensed dealers meet safety standards, that those places of business are identifiable to the public, identifiable to law enforcement, identifiable to our investigators if we need to do a compliance review or follow up on a complaint. And then, of course, to ensure that our dealers are all operating in our state under a fair playing field. And the effective date of July 1st, 2025 works fine with the department because we won't have any forms to change, any policies to change. We're kind of already doing it this way now. This just ensures that it's interpreted that way and carried out that way in the future. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. Any questions, committee? Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question about what's the definition of manufacturers? I mean, what do you have to do to be a manufacturer? I guess who's excluded from being a manufacturer is probably really my question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Kolb, so I do have my law book here, and I might have to reference that if that's all right to tell you specifically what that definition says. But basically, a manufacturer, we have out-of-state manufacturers and we have Wyoming-based manufacturers. So out-of-state manufacturers, that definition lays out that it's either someone who builds vehicles from brand new parts or acts as a distributor on behalf of a manufacturer for brand new vehicles. Wyoming-based manufacturer is someone that does that same thing, but they're doing it here in Wyoming. And we license Wyoming-based manufacturers so that we can be sure that those businesses that are building brand new trailers for retail sale, that they are registered with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, that they're building those trailers to meet federal safety standards, and they have a license with us. And our Wyoming-based manufacturers, the way this law is written, they can sell direct to the public. They don't have to go through a dealer network. They can sell direct to the public now. So that is what a manufacturer is. So either you're building brand new vehicles and distributing them to dealers, or you're building them and you're working through a middleman, a middle company to push those out. A lot of the bigger trailer manufacturers across the country, they'll work through distributors because they're selling those trailers at box stores, your home improvement stores, and your farm and ranch stores. And they just push those through a distributor, a regional distributor offices or organizations, rather than everybody across the country from farm and ranch store having to go through North Carolina or some state like that to try to get all those trailers. Does that answer your question? No? Okay.
I'll love Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was just trying to get to the point. I realize when people do the right thing, this is what happens. I'm asking the scenario where somebody's building trailers at their house, selling them. Other than your perfect world, I mean, how would you deal with that, or do you deal with that when people are just making stuff and selling? That was my question. Sorry for the bad way I phrased it.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Kolb, I'm sorry I didn't catch that question right, but I know what you're asking now. So how that works is if I were to be building trailers in my garage and I'm just selling them, brand new trailers are going to have a VIN. It's going to have a 17-character conforming VIN assigned by the manufacturer. And those VINs are smart numbers, and there's a manufacturer identifier within those. So every new vehicle manufacturer that builds those for resale, they have to register with NHTSA to ensure that they meet safety standards, and they're assigned the first 3 characters of your VIN is your manufacturer's identifier. So if I build one in my house and I start selling them, the customers, the people who buy them from me, they're gonna go to the county and they're gonna get a title. They're gonna apply for a title. And the county is gonna see that there's no prior title, this is brand new. Where's my manufacturer's statement of origin? Well, I'm just building these in my garage, so I didn't give them that, I just wrote out a bill of sale. And so that's gonna be the first red flag for the county. And then the second red flag is gonna be that there's no VIN, or there's just some random number that I've etched on there. Or maybe I'm smart enough to put a 17-character VIN on there. Like I said, those are all smart numbers and they can be decoded. And the county's gonna realize, they're gonna know that that isn't a conforming 17-character VIN. So they're going to red flag that and question their customer at the counter about where they bought it. And we have a very close working relationship with all 23 county clerks and 23 county treasurers in the state. And they know that this is our function. And they'll call us and say, hey, we've got this person, we've seen 4 or 5 or 6 or however many trailers sold by this person brand new, and they don't have a license with you. We do share our license list with the county so they know who has dealer licenses and manufacturers licenses in their state. So it works very well for us to catch those, and thankfully we're a small enough state that know everybody by name, and we can reach out to that. So the investigator would reach out to me and say, hey, Lacey, you need to get a license, you need to register with NHTSA, all of that.
Senator Anderson?
Mr. Chairman, I got 2 or 3 questions. I had one of those homemade trailers that we built, and the title, they put on the title homemade in the serial, or in the VIN number, just, and went with that. This doesn't cover anything for used trailers. A seller that's selling used trailers doesn't have to have the dealer license.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Anderson, so if I could address the first part of your question. If you are not required to register with NHTSA to be a manufacturer if you build a trailer for yourself, use it for a while and sell it. The purpose of that registration as a manufacturer with NHTSA is for businesses that manufacture multiple trailers for the purpose of reselling them to the public. So you would be fine to do that. You apply for a state assigned VIN, YDOT issues that to you, you go to the county, you get title and license plates, and away you go. You could even build 5 of them for personal use if you wanted to. It's that manufacturing license requirement is for companies that are building these for resale to the public. So your question about used trailer dealers. So if I am a trailer dealer, if I'm in the business of selling used trailers for retail sale, I do still have to have a license with YDOT, but that's a non-franchise license. So once a vehicle's titled in any state or registered in any state, it's considered used. So we do have non-franchise or used dealer licenses, and they do still have to have licenses in places of business. But these manufacturer agreements, the authorization letter don't apply there because they're not selling brand new vehicles. So whoever they got that used trailer from is going to sign the title for it over to the dealership. The dealership's going to hold it until the dealership sells the trailer, and then they're going to do a reassignment to their customer, and their customer's going to go to the county and get their title and license plates, and away they go. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and one more, Mr. Chairman. My buddy that sells trailers was awful worried that this law would limit him to one manufacturer. And I don't see anything in here that says anything about that.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Anderson, no. This does not limit the number of trailer makes that a dealer can sell. They can sell 10 different makes, 2 different makes, 1,
Yeah,
whatever they want. This has nothing to do with that. And there's no restriction in Chapter 16 at all, regardless of whether you're a trailer dealer or a motorcycle dealer, ATVs, passenger vehicles, trucks. There's no restrictions in this statute to how many makes you can sell. You just have to have an agreement with each manufacturer.
One more question. We had a lot of heavy trailers to haul equipment on, and I see this says, other than house trailers or semi-trailer. Are those heavy haul trailers, are they considered in that semi-trailer category?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Anderson, so that exclusion is for commercial trailers, like tractor trailers. And the reason for the tractor trailer exclusion is that those commercial trailer, like tractor trailer manufacturers, they manufacture those, and those are often sold through leasing companies or fleet companies. So their business model is a little different. House trailers are excluded there. That's a camper trailer or a recreational vehicle. Those manufacturers do operate under a franchise agreement with their dealers. They do require their label up on the wall of the building and all of that. So that's why those two are excluded. So your heavy haul trailers, individuals can buy those, commercial dealers can buy those and sell them along with commercial trucks. Those would fall into these exclusions if the manufacturer doesn't operate under a franchise agreement model. Does that answer your question?
Doesn't fall. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
enough? Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. Bruckner? Okay, thank you, Lacey.
Thank you very much.
I'll open the room now to public comment. Anybody else would like to?
Thank you, Senators.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Tarver. Please come forward. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jessie Defoe, and I'm here on behalf of the American Trailer World. And we are part of industry who started to look at this and realized that we were operating outside of what statute was kind of dictating. And we've been very grateful for just how great WyoDOT has been. They've been very pro-business and very helpful, but we're like, what if those people leave? What are we going to do? And so really, as mentioned, that's where this legislation came from. Whenever you have regulatory certainty for business, things work better, and it brings more business to Wyoming and to our great state. So I would just ask for your favorable consideration to look at this today and to help ease the regulatory burden. Again, a big thank you to the representative who brought this piece of legislation, and then WyoDOT in working to find a solution that still meets all of their requirements. We still want to be taxed. We still want to be, made sure that we meet all the requirements the good trailer manufacturers and dealers do, but to have that regulatory certainty. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Committee, any questions for Ms. Defoe? Thank you, Jesse.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Chris Mickey from the Wyoming Business Alliance. We're also in support of this bill. As you've heard from everyone else in the room, that this is just a really good cleanup bill and is codifying what's already being done by the good folks at WYDOT. And then it provides some more certainty for those folks who want to either start manufacturing trailers or sell them in the state. And so we think this is a really good bill, and we support it. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay. Committee, questions? Thank you, Mr. Mickey. Further public comment? Don't see any out there. I don't see, and there's no one online. So we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move. Second.
Okay, moved by Senator Anderson, seconded by Senator Cooper. Discussion.
Straight up. I
Any?
think it's a good little bill that Cooper will be able to handle.
Well, it looks like we got 3 members of the committee on there. I'm gonna have to sign it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little dubious of some of the people on this bill, but barring that, I'm still in favor of the bill.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't see that anyone's got any amendments, so let's have a roll call.
Senator Anderson,
Aye.
Senator Brennan,
Excused?
Senator Cooper,
Aye.
Senator Kolb,
Aye.
Chairman Pappas.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused. You pass.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
who wants to carry this?
well, I have a suggestion since Brendan isn't here. Usually that's how that works.
Well, she
I will
did,
second that.
she did not hear the testimony, so I will,
carry it.
I really believe one of you two should do it.
I can do it.
Okay, Cooper. Senator Cooper will do it.
I'll try to back him up.
All right. Yeah, you guys are trying to pull the wool over Senator Brennan there.
It's a bonus what you get for missing, for good reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Missing the committee.
I
So,
thought that's the rule.
committee, so far, we haven't had any other bills assigned to the committee, so we'll possibly not have a meeting next Tuesday, but
Surely
I'll
we'll
let-
have some.
Chairman, we have one, a member of the House in front of us. We could certainly say we look forward to more bills coming over.
so.
We could even carry some of those House
We
bills
could use
forward.
something to do.
Okay. Okay, so we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Surely we'll have.